Hello and welcome to the first video of this series, Meditations of a Winner. These videos are purely inspired by meditations and inspirations gotten thereby from the greatest versions of self. So today's video is titled The Key because I was meditating recently on a domestic, very ordinary event that actually, like if you look at it by itself, out of context, it's a very ordinary event that happened to me, where I had already put forth this desire for resources, food resources. And then when the food resources came and the person wanted to enter the house, it was like, okay, where is the key to the padlock? And then began a 1 hour fruitless search for the key to the padlock. I mean, we tried all the keys that were available, and none of them worked on the padlock. And then as in the midst of the franticness, I was just being directed to relax and be still. And then the next thing I heard was that release judgment from where you think the key is. And then I was like, okay, I release judgment. And then I started searching in non-typical places, non-usual places where we would keep the key. Meanwhile, the food is outside, the resources, everything is outside. So when that did not produce any result, it was now more of a direction again, where it was like the more you search for something, the more you're not going to find it, because searching implies what you're looking for is not there. Okay, so I was like, okay, the key is here, 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 the key is here. That's what I kept thinking all through, like the key is here, the key is here. And there was no key, like aside from the keys that were already very like scattered around where that we had, there was no key. I was like, okay, so what to do now? And then I was like, the thing that I need this key for, it's not even like an ordinary thought, obviously. It's definitely from the higher version of me, the me that is I am, conscious awareness. They went, what do you need this key for? And I'm like, I need the key now to open gates so that my food can come in. And then I was like, my food is already here, so it should just come in regardless, no matter how the food should come in. You get, that's what I just thought to myself. And then when I made that statement in my mind, I was now inspired to oil or to grease up three spare keys that I had found. And then those three spare keys now, the backstory is that I had already tried them 3 different times and none of them yielded results. You know, the kind of frantic energy of when you are looking to do something, you are trying something over and over again, and you feel like, okay, this time maybe I didn't turn it, so this time maybe I should push it in this way. So I tried it 3 different times, no result. The padlock was slightly short. And so I was now inspired to oil up the keys and try it again. And then I went and tried them again, and eventually one of those keys opened up the padlock without stress, and my food came in. And then when I was reflecting on it this morning, my own quiet time, it was like, if I had not, since, like, obviously the keys, first thing to realize is that the keys were a perfect match to the padlock. Okay, the keys were a perfect match to the padlock. Those were the actual gate keys. But none of them worked because I didn't recognize the key. I'm not usually the one person that opens the gate, so I was unfamiliar with the keys, and I just felt, since it's not opening the gate, that means it must not be the key. Do you understand? That's just a basic way of thinking. And from that interaction alone, it shows you that. And now that, okay, you see that one of the keys opened up the gates. The actual gate keys, I threw it away, like, oh, that's not, like, I didn't really try to throw it away, but I threw it away in the sense of, okay, that is not what I need. Those keys are duds, they are not working for the gate. We need to find the key. Then another spare keys, three keys, three spare keys came up, showed up, as in somebody brought the spare keys, three spare keys. I was like, hey, let's try this three, you know. And those three too were not working, but it was those three keys I oiled up to open up the gate, and which opened up the padlock eventually. So the actual keys that were perfect for the padlock, I didn't recognize them because they weren't working. So number one, like the first takeaway from this whole experience is that it just proves that your senses are not accurate. Okay, your senses run off of their own definition regardless of what the truth is. And what was the truth? Those keys were the padlock keys, but because I used my hand, I used my logic, to open it, and it did not work. And so I didn't recognize it, and I was like, okay, let's dump this one aside. This is not the key. So I couldn't see it for what it was. Then the other part of it is the three spare keys that I tried. Those ones, they were just found somewhere in some corner of the house. Okay, so that shows that those keys were unconventional. You get, those keys were not usual, and those keys are spares. Okay, people don't look for the spares until something important is happening or the good ones are not available. So it's like, regardless of whatever, so okay, let's just talk about it first. Like those spare keys that eventually opened the gates, removing judgment from them, if I had like, oh, I'd already tried them three times before, please, all these things are not going to work, would have sat like that too. Would have sat like that, looking for a key, looking for the bunch of keys, the real keys for the gate. You get? And so all of that is just like very obvious in the sense that your senses are dulled. Your senses do not know more than what they operate on, the mechanism they operate on. So you cannot use your senses to judge decisions that you want to make towards what you want. You cannot use your senses to determine what you want or the viability of the things that you are chasing after. Not chasing after, but the things that you want from life. Okay? If you want something from life, regardless of how it looks to your senses, how it looks to your literal senses, like I tried these keys three times, two bunches of keys and these three specs, nothing worked. But the actual key was among them, but it was unrecognizable. I didn't recognize the actual keys for the padlock. Then the three spare keys, they could be this aspect of your thought process where you be like, okay, let's try this thing, and people will go, like, you might look around you, not even people, but you might look around you and you see that it's not working for anybody else. Okay, you even try it yourself and it looks as if it's not working. But then there is the very wonderful aspect of knowing who you are, because if you look inwards, it's only when you look inwards at the truest, highest, grandest versions of yourself, that is when you can really operate life, the way you want it to be. Because when I looked inward, I answered the question, it's my food I want. Okay, all this kiki talk, I don't get it. I just want my food, and I know my food is there already. Let my food come in. Do you understand? So look inwards, understand, or come into the knowing of what it is that you have done for yourself, and focus on that. Because when you focus on that thing that you want, that you know that you already have, will make its way into your physical awareness. Whether the key was the proper key, nobody knows. Whether the key was just something else from another padlock, nobody knows, because those keys were untagged. They're just spare keys, nobody tagged them, just lying some random place in the house. But somehow, because I focused on the fact that, on the knowing that I have what I want, like what I want is literally here for me. So why will some flimsy gate stand between me and what I want? Like, come inside. And when I said come inside, my food came inside though. My food came inside. And so another thing, the main takeaway of today's meditation, the topic of today's meditation is the key. You have to decide what you want. I wasn't opening the gate for pleasure's sake. Oh, let's just look at the environment, let's just open gates. Let's open gates to welcome a visitor. No, I was opening gates for a reason. I wanted the gate open for a reason. And so I focused on the reason I wanted the gate open instead of asking for key to open gate. You get, that's it. That's, if you now look at it in your everyday life, you ask yourself the things that I'm actually chasing after, what am I chasing them for? What am I chasing after them for? What am I pursuing them? What do I want? Why am I following up these things? What is the purpose of what I'm doing? Because a lot of people are being programmed, even you watching, you might have been programmed to believe that no, you do this to get that. Everything is a means to an end. Meanwhile, you can just start from the end. You get, you can just start from the end. Why go all around to Kilimanjaro, to Mississippi River? You come back, you can't go back before you want to get to somewhere that is just in your yard like that, or in front of your house. Do you understand? My point is that make a decision on what you want. Start to reevaluate those desires that you've had for the longest time and ask yourself, why do you want these things that you said you want? That could be the key to opening you receiving what it is that you already have. Do you understand? If you keep putting out to the universe that I want a job, I need a job, I need a job, and you've not gotten a job, reevaluate it. Why do I want a job? What do I hope to get from a job? Do I want to have a career where I'm being promoted every year, where I'm being lauded, where my intellect like is expanding in this field of expertise? Is that what I want a job for? Or do I want a job for money, for security, for rent, for phone, for food? You understand? Do I want a job for that? And go straight to what it is you want. So I encourage you, since this is Meditations of a Winner, you watch this video, you sit down with your journal, or you sit down quietly in a place where you won't be disturbed for, even if it's 5 minutes, and just reflect on the things, on one thing that you've been hoping for a while, or a recent desire that just popped up in your vibration. Okay, and let and listen. Some of you might not be familiar with it, but most of you might be familiar with it. Okay, either ways, your inner self, your grandest, truest, highest version of self is always willing, ready to speak to you in a language you understand. I didn't understand the language that of, oh, recognize the key as the keys to open the gate. I didn't understand it. Recognize that if you keep searching for something, you will never find it. I did recognize it partially, but I still kept looking for it in a way. I still kept looking for a key. I was still judging what a key was. Okay, so all of that failed. Like my higher self could not get to me through the key. And so what did they do? They went directly to the desire, because I was already aware of what I wanted, which is my food resources. Okay, my food resources. And they were like, okay, go from there. And when I went from there, when I focused on my food resources, key, padlock, gate, all of it was irrelevant. I got what I wanted. And some people might be like, okay, this is a very mundane experience, it doesn't. Guy, when something is very, very simple, people tend to overlook it as not true or as not effective. But you can just try this. Meditations of a Winner. The key, make a decision on what you want and start from there. Start from the end. Don't go, I'm using a means to an end. Start from the end. And I know that you have been impacted by this meditation. So leave a comment, tell me your mundane experiences, some of the mundane experiences that have led you to a very deeper spiritual interpretation, that have opened your eyes that much clearer to seeing life in a very new way. And look forward to more videos in this series, Meditations of a Winner, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.